Awards watch. It's my favorite time of year. It's the best season. Awards. Cass, who would be your pick right now, Tuesday, August 19th? Who's your MVP?
I mean, it's between Napheesa Collier, I think, and Alyssa Thomas for me. Napheesa Collier has certainly been the leader. I think in the past couple of years, it's been a case of you maybe deserved it the year prior or had a season that was worthy of it the year prior. So you come into the season as the favorite and you still perform really well, and then you get voted the favorite. What Alyssa Thomas is doing, though, is the same she's done throughout her entire career. I mean, averaging nearly a triple-double in a new place, lifting the mercury. But when it comes back to Fee, I think what's going to be interesting is how voters decide her absence. There is no MVP who has missed more than, I think it's like 15% of the season. That was Jonquil Jones, who missed 5 games back in 2021. So there are people who are going to maybe change their vote based on that, or put that into context. And then also when you're talking about Fee, there's often a conversation around the best player on the best team. That would certainly be her if you're looking at it that way versus anyone else. I know Asia Wilson has kind of put herself in this conversation, Kelsey Mitchell as well. But then there's kind of a third aspect of Minnesota is winning and beating New York, still reigning champions, very good team, without Fee. So are people going to take votes away from Fee? Or as a voter, are you going to change your vote because you're looking at it as, well, they're still like playing pretty darn well. Maybe I should give it to someone else. So I think down the stretch of the season, MVP has become an incredibly interesting talking point, as I think it should every year. I don't think that unanimous MVP should be, a thing we talk about every year. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, there's no way that there's a unanimous MVP every single year. And when we have a year that someone is so great that they are the unanimous MVP, then wonderful, and we can celebrate that. If I had to pick right now, my pick would also be Napheesa Collier, but I think you bring up a very, very important point about the philosophy of how you view MVP. A lot of times it's best player on the best team, and sometimes the best player on the best team is the most valuable player in any sort of league. That would be Fee. But I also view MVP as, if you take this player away from their respective team, that respective team is totally and completely different. That they are more valuable to their team than any other player in the rest of that respective league. Now, about a month ago, I would have said that was Fee, right? That if you take Napheesa Collier away from this Lynx team, and that's no disrespect to the rest of this Lynx roster, but it's a much, much different story without Fee than it is with. Well, now we've gotten a pretty solid sample size of what the Lynx look like without Napheesa Collier. That I think Alyssa Thomas, just doing what she's doing, period, regardless of what anyone else is doing or any other injuries in the league, Alyssa Thomas should have been in the conversation. But I think she's now cementing herself more and more and more in the conversation. If you are of the philosophy that the Minnesota Lynx are still a contender with or without Napheesa Collier, as great and wonderful as Napheesa Collier is. Today, I'm still going Fee, but I'm not putting my vote in today. I'm not writing it in Sharpie. I'm writing it in pencil. Okay, let's move on to Rookie of the Year. And it felt like during the WNBA draft, maybe there was an obvious answer here, but the WNBA has just been giving us so many wonderful little rookie presents. Cass, who would be your contenders for Rookie of the Year at this point?
These rookies are really good. I think it's an incredibly exciting Rookie of the Year race because Paige Bueckers is certainly the one you mentioned, #1 overall pick, has asserted herself in the WNBA very well. Her game translates very well. Sonia Citron, though, is right up there for me. I'm kind of going back and forth. I mean, scoring a few less points, but like efficiency is very good. Rebounding is right up there. Like, I think they're very much neck and neck. For me, though, what Sonia has done is really stepped up since Brittany Sykes was traded to the Seattle Storm. And that has been really impressive. I mean, both of these players are players who feel like they've been in the WNBA for a really, really long time. Like, just almost like veteran leadership. So I will be interested to see, what sways my decision down the final stretch.
I'll go with, a teammate of Sonia Citron. I mean, this Washington team has just been gifted a riches of rookies. I'll go Kiki Iriafen. I mean, Sonia Citron has been incredibly consistent, but Kiki putting up 13 points a game. She leads the Mystics in rebounds with 8.5 per game. I mean, Kiki has also been so incredibly consistent. And, if you ask me this question, who would be my pick today? Of course, things are always subject to change. I would pick Kiki. And I ask myself, am I doing that just to be different? Like, am I doing that just to not pick Paige Bueckers? And nothing against Paige. She is wonderful and she's a blast to watch. But am I saying that just to have a different take than everybody else? But if you just compare the stats, and the stats aren't everything, I don't want to be, just a box score scout because there's so many more elements beyond just the box score. But yes, I mean, Paige is putting up 19 points a game. Like, that's just absolutely ridiculous and should come to no surprise to anybody who watched her at UConn. But I mean, Kiki, like, yes, she's scoring fewer points, but she's putting up significantly more rebounds. And she's like, her defense, I think, is kind of been her calling card rather than her scoring ability. And her scoring ability has still been incredibly impressive. So I don't think it's crazy to make the comparison, not just between Kiki and Paige, but Kiki, Paige, and Sonia. All three have such a strong argument to potentially be Rookie of the Year. Paige Bueckers has more of the name recognition. I just forgot how to speak English for a second. She has the bigger name. She's the bigger celebrity. She has been the bigger star and has been since going back to college. But I want to give these Mystics rookies their day and their recognition because they absolutely deserve it.
I want to throw out one more interesting stat as I was kind of going down this rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Through Monday, Sonia Citron is 13th in win shares overall. Paige is 22nd. I just thought that was an interesting number you might not have thought of at the beginning of the year. Although, to be fair to Paige, number one picks go to teams that are not typically very good.
Right. That's interesting because we just talked about kind of MVP philosophy. There can be several different schools of thought about how you view an MVP. Rookie of the Year is different. Is it a rookie on the best team, statistics, scoring, defense? What would be your personal philosophy of what a Rookie of the Year campaign and resume looks like?
I think it's just all of it for me. Like, are you producing, but is that production, just because you're the number one option on a team that isn't doing well? Or is it, in Sony's case, she's a part of a system that has exceeded expectations in really big ways? I'm a big efficiency person. I typically kind of shy away, like all WNBA time. I shy away from players who are maybe scoring 20 points but shooting 30%. Don't love it. I do think, though, this is a great time to bring in Dominique Malonga, who is the number 2 overall pick to Seattle. Definitely not in the Rookie of the Year conversation, but this is a pick who we knew at the time, first of all, like, voted by GMs to be the best player of the rookie class in 5 years. So this is more of an investment opportunity. She was never going to get a ton of minutes with Seattle, which is the other big thing. You have to be in a situation as a rookie to play a bunch of minutes. Seattle has an older roster, postseason hopes. They landed up in that number 2 spot, but we're in a good position. And so Rookie of the Year is also, can you stay on the floor and be on the floor significantly?
It's all fair points to bring up. And I think another thing that we should bring up in Paige Bueckers' Rookie of the Year conversation is she hasn't been consistently out there on the court, and she has been dealing with injury. So if we're going to bring that up as a reason for skepticism for Napheesa Collier, I think that it's only fair to bring that up for Paige Bueckers as well. And as far as Defensive Player of the Year is concerned, Cass, am I oversimplifying it by saying Defensive Player of the Year is the league leader in rebounds and blocks? Because that's exactly what A'ja Wilson is. And that's exactly who I would pick today as Defensive Player of the Year.
Are you only picking her, though, because she leads in rebounds and blocks?
Not only because she leads in rebounds and blocks, but it's a pretty good argument.
I am not big on just Defensive Player of the Year is so hard, first of all. Because I don't think, and I think when you talk to coaches and other players as well, like, stats don't tell the entire story. Certainly, and this is not about Asia or anyone else on my list, but certainly you're getting a lot of blocks in some cases because your, backcourt defenders have let their player go by. Not all the time, obviously, but like that's part of it. I think Defensive Player of the Year, much like MVP, is a very forward heavy award because when it comes to a guard, like you're probably only getting steal numbers, if that. Defense is just so hard, and you really have to dig into defensive numbers. A'ja Wilson's on my list. Alyssa Thomas is on my list. Napheesa Collier is on my list, although I think Alana Smith could take a lot of votes from her. She also, I think, is tied with A'ja Wilson in blocks or like right underneath her. And then Gabby Williams is on my list. But the thing about Gabby, who plays for Seattle, is the Storm have absolutely plummeted both in the standings and in defensive rating. And as much as we talk about these awards are individual, they are very much team. Like your team has to have success and your teammates have to be in the right positions for you to have success. And I think that might ding Gabby's candidacy here a little bit.
Defense isn't sexy. It doesn't pop off the page. Like, you don't tune in to a game because, oh my gosh, look how great of a defensive battle this is. Like, there's so much nuance to it. And I think you bring up all very, very good points. And that brings me to most improved player. I think is also incredibly nuanced, can be incredibly subjective. About how do you view improvement? Like, your role on a team? Like, did you score more points? Like, help me, Cass.
I can't help you because every single year, this is my thing. I hate this award. Like, I get it. It's just so difficult to parse through. And I know that people involved with this award are like, that's the best part. You can have discussion. But I feel like there's always like 20 players who 2 weeks left in the season, like could still win this award.
It's the same thing as like comeback player of the year in the NFL. And it's like, well, what do they come back from? Like, do they just come back from being bad? Did they come back from injury? Same thing with most improved player. Well, are they improved because they're on a better team? Yes, are they improved because they doubled up their average point total? Are they improved because now they're playing a larger role? Again, yes, that's what makes this fun, but does it make it fair? I don't know. I don't think so.
Just think about this. Like, I think this is the most interesting part about most improved player. Last year, Sabrina Ionescu was in a lot of conversations because she had really improved in the mid-range. And that was huge for the Liberty, for her to be able to get that floater off instead of just driving or just hitting threes. This year, we're also talking about Alicia Gray being in the most improved conversation because of increased production, career year, yada, yada, yada. These are like all WNBA level players that we are talking about in the same conversation as, for example, Atlanta Dream's Naz Hillman, who has become an incredibly good three-point shooter in that Smesko ball system. It's just such diametrically opposed situations. And I think it's hard to, like you said, like, I don't know that it's like fair. Not that life isn't fair. Like, get over it.
Right. But like, still, I want it to be. And it's just not. And like, it does feel icky to talk about Sabrina Ionescu, an elite WNBA player, as most improved, which feels like kind of like a little blue ribbon that you get at the fair. Like, no, like this is just, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. I'm getting all riled up. Coach of the year. You will be hard pressed to get me off of my soapbox where I am screaming at the top of my lungs for Stephanie White to be Coach of the Year. All of the stuff that the Fever have gone through, the injuries, and I'll throw DeWanna Bonner in there. That we still don't know exactly what went on behind closed doors with DeWanna Bonner and the Fever organization. That was a very strange exit. And they were still able to overcome that when they brought DeWanna Bonner in for a very specific reason, and to have her veteran leadership on that team, a team that's lacking veteran leadership. One of the best, if not the best players in the sport, Caitlin Clark, has been out for over half the season. They've been riddled with injury. And they're still, like, we are still talking about the Fever potentially getting into the playoffs. I have been so impressed with how Stephanie White has been able to keep this team together. Whereas I feel like Coach of the Year, similar to MVP, is coach of the best team. Like, that's great. And like, sometimes coaches that are the coach of the best team deserve to be Coach of the Year. I think that this is a different instance, though, where we need to acknowledge what coaches actually do and what their job is, and that is to continue to win games no matter what happens. That's exactly what the Fever have been doing.
Well, for all of those reasons, I would put members of the Fever front office in consideration for Executive of the Year, because I think how they have traversed in-season problems, specifically bringing in Ari McDonald, is very impressive. I agree with you on Coach of the Year, another kind of split in philosophy. So I have two for you. The first, to your point about a coach who has a team that maybe isn't at the top of the rankings, but has done an incredible job, Natalie Nakase of the Golden State Valkyries.
Totally.
She took this job literally with a blank slate, and that can be a positive. But there's also an unknown of who can you get, who can we bring in an expansion draft? Will all of these players come together? You have the pressure of your owner saying, we're going to win a championship within 5 years, so you better get off the ground running. What she's been able to do with this team, specifically on the defensive end as a first-time head coach with an expansion team, the first expansion team since 2008, is truly impressive. And I do think she'd probably get my vote right now. But also, you have Carl Smesko, who similarly, the Atlanta Dreamer sitting in second right now. This is a guy who was in the college ranks for so many years, right? Like, there has to be a reason to jump to the WNBA. He takes a good team. His front office dips into free agency, gets players who will play his 3-point system, and he has them really as title contenders at this point. Just two different coaching situations, but two very, very impressive ones.
I love that this year we have different kind of perspectives of coaches, that it's not just, best coach, best team, which again is totally fair and totally justified. But look at the Valkyries. I mean, we were lovingly poking a little bit of fun at how lackluster, I think is a nice word to say, their roster looked at the beginning of the season. And we were, kind of joking around like, ha ha, just get through year one and hope for the best in year two. And now they are just barely sitting outside of a playoff position. And even if the Valkyries don't make the playoffs, still what they were able to do to be an interesting and intriguing and winning basketball team this year, I think is incredibly impressive.